It was a typical Sunday. I've been in church my whole life. I was about 21 years old. My father was the pastor of this church in the inner city of Chicago. And seemed like an ordinary Sunday. We had a special guest speaker. His name was Bob Spencer, a missionary from Brazil. And he was getting ready to share, and I was sitting in a balcony up quite a ways away, kind of like that. Pastor Bob's particular text that morning was John chapter 3, the story of Nicodemus, where Jesus is talking to him about being born from above. And while Jesus is speaking to him, he says that those who are born from above are like the wind. You can feel the effects of the wind, but you really don't know where the wind is coming from or where it's going. And Pastor Bob began to talk about following the wind of the Spirit. Now, I'm sitting in the balcony quite a ways away. However, when Pastor Bob began to share, it felt like the gap was closed and I was standing face to face, where he's speaking directly to me. I don't know about anybody else in the church, but he's talking to me, and my heart is coming alive as he's sharing. And I know at that moment, at this point, my heart is leaping because I want to follow the wind of the Spirit. God is stirring my heart for something. And I think that led to a chain of events. I immediately ran down to him after the service, and because he offered the opportunity to anyone in our congregation who wanted to go to Brazil on a short-term missions trip that he would be willing to host them. And at that moment, I knew that that was for me, and I wanted to respond to that. I remember looking over at a friend and asking him, hey, we gotta respond. You wanna go? And he looked at me and he said, "Nah, you go. I'm not leaving the city." Because at our church during that particular time, we supported missionaries, but we had a firm believing that we lived in the mission field, and so you just didn't go. But God was stirring my heart up to go. Eventually, I did go, but before I got to Brazil, I had to train for 2 weeks at a Bible college in Western New York called Elam Bible Institute. And as I arrived at that Bible college to train, I felt the presence of God the moment I stepped foot on that campus. And the way that I describe it is I felt like the wind of the Spirit. And somehow I knew that, man, I'm supposed to go to this school. And eventually, after I served in Brazil, many powerful things happened there. And I did enroll as a student at Elam. And that is where I met my wonderful wife, Jessica, and so many other friends. And God did so many wonderful things in my heart. But it all started with my heart being awakened to the words of God, not being able to really explain it, but because I chose to follow my heart and what I felt like God was calling me to, my life has never been the same.